Yes, so I'd like to introduce Becca Purdon from 100 Ravens. And if you've been to our sheep and wool booth, in the last couple of years when we actually had a booth, um, there was this booth next to us, and almost everybody in our booth, if they were missing, we would find them next door because they're slobbering over the gorgeous yarns. And I was so impressed with the beautiful color combinations, the samples. I'm not a color person myself, and I really admire people who do color so beautifully. So, Becca, there you
Hi.
are.
Hi.
Hi there.
So I'm Becca, and with 100 Ravens, this is Kel, my spouse and partner, and the person who actually started 100 Ravens before swanning off to become a professor at Champlain University, Champlain College.
Yep.
And when they did that, I took over the majority of our dyeing and running the business. I was kind of running the business before, but I took over the dyeing
Everything.
creative side.
Yeah.
And then Jess is my wonderful helper, kind of what I was to Cal.
Hi.
You can't see her, but she's here.
She's here. She's
yeah.
awesome.
And so I guess we're going to give you a little introduction, but really these things are better if you guys have questions or uh, anything to kind of lead us in a direction. Because if you know anything, Kel and I can talk, and we can get really silly, and we can get really off topic. But let's see. So we started about a decade ago when we were living in Maryland. And we had moved to Maryland from Massachusetts, and when Kel's job in Maryland was over, we moved back to Massachusetts. But we started the dye business as just a lark. It just sort of took off because people loved the yarn, and so we started selling it. When we moved back to Massachusetts, we did a little local farmers market in our hometown there. And
It was a big deal. We made $100 like one day, and we're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what?
it was
$100? Whoa, that's amazing!"
and yeah, and it kind of stayed like that for a long time. And maybe I guess about 6 years ago,
Mhm.
we went full time with it, and it's been amazing ever since. And not long after that is when we moved to New Hampshire. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we've made a little nest of yarn here at the house to kind of ship out to everyone.
Yep.
We do mostly superwash, but not entirely. And mostly because I can't say no to a fiber or a new yarn weight or anything.
I don't think no's even in your vocabulary.
Yeah. So somebody says, "Oh, do you carry a, X fiber?" And I'm like, "No, but we could." And so you'll find there's a lot on our website. Every time I change something, Jess cries because she has to go and change it for all of them. But we do full skeins. We do mini sets, which we started doing almost at the beginning. We started with mini sets, and so this is before minis were available from the mills. So when we do them, we break them down ourselves. We dye our full skeins and then break down the minis ourselves, which means our mini sets, our mini skeins are a little heavy because our skeins are a little heavy and we use up all the yarn.
About
And
14,
it also means
15
that,
grams of
yeah,
mini skein for our minis.
they're also a little bit different than the ones, because the ones that you can buy from the mill as a dyer are 20 grams. Ours are more like 14 or 15 grams because we break them down into a set of seven.
Ones from the mill are a set of
7
5.
minis off of each full skein, and the reason that we do that is because our first mini skein set was the rainbow for Pride, and so that's 7 colors, and that's how we broke it down.
And so it has been ever since. Except
And-
for the
except for the ones,
Aesir.
yeah. So Acer is our heavy sport, light DK, and we do those, and those are 2 skeins worth of yarn. Those are the ones that are on the little inset picture right now. And so those are 2 full skeins of yarn, and we break those down into 3 minis per skein, so you get 6 minis instead of 7. That's just how it worked out with math.
I have to
Because
show it
math
off.
is, oh,
So for
Oh,
the
yeah.
6 minis,
Here, I'll-
and this is I just finished this, so it hasn't been blocked yet. But this is oh, here, I'll put it on here. Yeah, there we go. It's Josh Reese-Rabinsky's Tailwind, and I made this as a maternity shawl for my niece. So I have to block it out. It'll be much bigger. I knitted it at a tight gauge, but Acer is a delight to knit with, and of course I love a gradient because I get bored easily, and the color changes keep me entertained to the end of the project. Otherwise, I would wander off, as I often do. But yeah, our minis are fun to work with.
And this pattern was originally done in the fingering weight minis, and Kel just decided they wanted something chunkier and warmer.
Yeah,
It being winter.
indeed. Although in California, you know.
Well, and that's the thing. Like when we were picking yarns to show you guys, I was like, I want all the chunky, warm yarns because it's cold right now, and everybody is hitting me up right now for summer and spring, and so everybody's talking lightweight yarns, and I'm just like, can we please stay in the nice chunky yarn?
Exactly. Exactly.
2 skeins, the mini set. Did you say?
And then in addition to Acer, Acer and Epona are interesting. Epona's the worsted version of Acer, and Acer is a 6-ply.
It's 8 ply.
8-ply. Sorry, 8-ply. That's why I was blanking. I'm like, no. Is an 8-ply. So it's a cabled yarn. So it's 4 strands of 2-ply cabled. So you ply the 2 strands together, and then you ply those 4 of those 2 strands. So it is super strong,
Yeah.
but it also doesn't bloom a lot like a lot of your thicker weight yarns. It keeps its stitch definition really just
Yeah.
crisply.
It's really good.
And-
You can put it in the wash. You can do all kinds of stuff like that because it'll hold together.
Yeah.
It's very, very robust, and that's part of the reason that we picked it. Was that one of the things that I wanted from the beginning was to have yarn that was approachable and wasn't precious.
Yeah.
And if you made a garment out of it, you didn't have to treat it gently. You could just fling it around, throw it in the wash. Baby could puke on it, whatever, it would be fine. And that everything was friendly and approachable that way, and
Yeah.
that was important to me.
Yeah, and we really, our mill came up with the Acer version of this, and we begged them for the worsted version because
Yeah,
it was
because it was so good,
amazing.
and it would be so good for sweaters.
We have a
So
question.
we have a question. Somebody asked if we dye fingering weight sock yarn, and I know
We
I grabbed a skein
do.
of patterns.
We
Did
do,
you?
tons.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did. Sure
Yeah, the pyro.
Yep. So, do we have a fingering weight sock yarn? Yes, we do. It's called Patos, which, funnily enough, I get teased at shows about because Patos is duck in Spanish, but we name a lot of our stuff after Greek stuff because that's my where I grew up, and so Patos is the root for feet
Yes,
in Greek. So.
but also duck.
But I think of it as our duck yarn now. Anyway, it's a 75-25 merino and superwash merino and nylon. It is a nice, again, tight ply, crisp, kind of stitched yarn. So.
Well, and it's interesting too. Like when we first started dyeing, there was still a fair amount of resistance in the community to superwash yarns. They had a reputation
That's
for
okay.
being sort of squeaky, or I heard squeaky,
Yeah,
yummy.
squeaky.
And there's a couple of different superwash processes now,
Yeah.
and the whole technology has really changed. So, and some of you already know this, and we're preaching to the choir, but superwash has kind of grown up, and
Yeah.
Our yarn is not a coated yarn; it's a stripped yarn.
No,
other way around.
Okay.
Sorry, our yarn is a coated yarn, not a stripped yarn. And the two advantages to that are There's still some natural lanolin, very slight, but just a little bit in there, which protects the yarn. It's part of what makes the yarn awesome. But then the other thing is that the process is not hard on the environment, which was another consideration
Or
for
on
us.
the yarn, so
Or
you're
on the
not
yarn,
taking
right.
something away from the yarn, so it
Exactly.
remains strong.
Exactly, it keeps its structural integrity. So little technology stuff, but but all this is important, right?
Yeah.
It plays in.
Yeah.
Um,
Jess's disembodied hand. So I showed it in the minis, but the first yarn we started out with was Yakos, and we do it in the minis. We do it as full skeins. It's it's kind of our go-to yarn. I loved Jess's term for it. The ply on it is really bouncy. It's got a lot of texture to its ply. That just, I don't know, it makes it very friendly. I think that it's a very friendly yarn.
Well, and we really, when originally, like, the yarns were really important. Like, we looked a lot for a good, fingering that had a good feel, that the ply was stable, because with the two ply, if you've got an unstable ply, and those of your spinners know, how disastrous that can be, and you're trying to work with it, knit and crochet, and I think especially in crochet, with the plies not stable, it's a pain. It's awful. Yeah. And Yakos holds together so well when you work with it. So, what's our question?
You have a question.
Yes, somebody else was like, do you do any long gradients for self-striping socks? Also, the sock on the wall is that color. If you wanted to show it up close, that one is knit up.
So this is what I'm gonna go this way. That's how this particular skein knits up on a sock. It's what we call a tipped colorway. So the red, orange, and yellow on there is just the end of the skein, and the rest of it's the gray. So you just get these little shots of color.
That's a 72 stitch sock as well.
Huh?
That's a 72 stitch sock.
It's a 72 stitch sock, says Kel. Oh, says Jess. So we do cakes in a gradient, and I do some of my cakes so that they are the same on the inside and the outside, so that you could split them and make gradient socks. We are experimenting in long color change striping. But I don't know that it is something we are ever going to do long term. Yeah. It's a lot of work, and you kind of have to set up your studio for it, and it would for us mean setting up the studio and then resetting up the studio to do our regular. And I'm not sure that we're that big an operation yet.
Right, and everybody's got different specialties, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
there are plenty of good ones.
Yeah,
out there.
I mean, Lisa Bass at White Birch. White Birch, is that right?
White Birch.
Yeah. White Birch. Yeah, she does. That's what she specializes in.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, we can do it, but frankly, I'm not sure we'd ever do it as well as she did. I mean, she's been doing it for years and years, and it's gorgeous, and she's got it at a good price point, and go to her. like we'll do it, but it's hard. Like, good gradients are hard. And
well, the gradients aren't a problem. The gradients we can do.
Yeah. But the
color change, the self-striping stuff that she does is not something.
It's a trick. Yeah. It's a real trick.
So
it really is.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about other fibers a little bit. One of the fibers that we've become very fond of is yak. Yak! Kel has a whole sweater that they're making out of yak. So we have a DK yak. Oh, you took my... No, it's okay. We have a DK yak that is for winter, kind of fall, one of my favorite things in the whole world. It's yak and silk and merino.
So good.
And there's kind of nothing better. Like,
it's wonderful.
It's amazing.
Wonderful.
Hold these for a second.
I use it for everything. Like, this yak is like my favorite, and I love using it for the sweater. Has been it's delicious. It's so soft, and it's got just enough merino that it holds its shape. Yeah. But the silk makes it droopy. And,
it doesn't let the silk run away with itself.
That was gonna drape.
But the interesting thing about the yak is that it starts out this color, the color that Kel's sweater is down there, whereas the merino starts out this color. And so when we dye on the yak, the colors come out really jewel tone, really gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And we decided when we first started doing it, we thought we were going to adjust our recipes so that the colors on the yak were the same, like looked the same, and that just was not going to happen.
No.
So instead we ended up deciding to keep our recipes exactly the same, and things are just going to look really different on the yak than they do on the regular colors.
And that's part of what makes it delightful.
Yeah, and when you go on the website, you'll see it that we show the pictures of each. You order them separately.
And the yak sock yarn, oh my god, yaksha.
Oh, yaksha.
It's incredible. Like when you talk about for socks, that is the stuff.
Yeah, so
yak is a gorgeous fiber,
I
just
just did.
gorgeous.
I just had one.
You have one?
It's right there. It's right next to your
Oh,
leg.
there it is.
Here.
So we do have a yak sock that's yak, merino, and nylon.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And both the yak and the nylon are good and strong for an amazing pair of socks.
And this is still all super wash, so again, it's washable.
I'm going to do the
sturdy.
Bernie.
Oh, do the Bernie thing. Do the Bernie thing.
So of course,
so
everyone's been talking about Bernie and his mittens, and
It's just like the best. The
So-
best.
we wanted to show that we have colors that would make those great.
Mhm.
And
Although it's good to use recycled.
it's great to
It's
use the
good to use the
recycled.
recycled. We were like not knocking the
Yeah.
recycled. Oh, sorry, my bad. No, but my sweater.
Yes, your
But my sweater.
But the other thing that I wanted to just show is that we do gradients of color even on the full skeins. Like we have such a rainbow of colors now after this many years. We do a lot of variegateds and lots of different styles of variegated.
Yeah.
But you know, we also we had sets for a while that were full skein gradients that are. I just think they're so pretty. I love
They
neutrals.
are.
Like I
do
love
too.
color
I do
so
too.
much. This time of year, I'm all about the color because it's so brown outside, and we don't even have the snow. If it were snowy, I'd be into pastels. I don't know what it is. I'm a color person. I like
Good.
Mood means color to me.
Yeah. No, but it's true,
So-
and it's hard. It's hard to get a good neutral. Like if you look
It
out
is.
in indie dyers, that's one thing that sometimes it's hard to find. Are really, first of all, quality neutrals, because sometimes the lighter colors are hard to dye well,
Oh.
and so you get very you can see in some indie dyers you get inconsistent light colors, and
Or throughout
we
the
do a
skein
good job.
because the way yarn picks up dye.
Yeah, we
If you
call it a
don't
strike.
have it, exactly. The way the dye strikes on the yarn, sometimes you'll get very pale middles on your skeins if you're not super careful about it.
Yeah.
Base and colorways.
Sorry. The base on this is Acer. We chose, which is again that heavy sport light DK.
Can you see
And
the
we
label?
chose it to show this because we had all of these colors. To do something like those mitts, I would recommend something more like Vanier, which is our true DK, and a little fluffier. It's not this 8-ply. Possibly Ntoa, which is a nice big chunky worsted, or if you want to stick with the 8-ply Epona, which is the worsted version of this yarn.
And so this is
That's
bear
a lot.
yarn.
There's
We
so
call it
much.
polar bear because
Polar bear.
And then this one is Deadly Desert and
Swinger
this-
birches.
Swinger birches, and this one is chocolate.
Chocolate.
Which
And it's a little bit of a light chocolate. That chocolate usually comes a little darker than that, but
Yeah.
some dyes come out light.
That's true. It's true. Yeah, and we the other thing that we often forget to mention is that our process is a little bit different than some
yeah.
indie dyers. All processes are fine. You know, there's a million different ways to dye. There's a million different ways to dye. This is like the ongoing dyer joke. It's like, I'm going to go downstairs and dye. No, Mom, don't. But there's a million different ways to do it. We dye, generally speaking, in lots of 4, and they're hand dipped. So we are hands-on with every 4 skeins of yarn. And that's why the quality is so high. It's
Right.
why we can do these pastels.
We're not dumping a bunch
don't
of
put things
yarn
in a
in a
pot.
kettle.
Yeah, we just don't do that.
We're constantly.
checking everything.
We're checking the colors.
Yep.
Somebody at a previous talk asked, well, isn't the color different when it's wet? And it's like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the education for anyone dyeing yarn is to learn what that colorway looks like wet.
So
and
that
that's
it's
what
right
you're
when it dries.
trying to achieve when you're dyeing.
And we've got a pretty scientific process with the dyeing as well.
Yeah.
You know, so that we're careful with our amounts and things like that. It makes it fairly consistent as much as, you know, hand dye is ever going to be. But
Right.
if you want samey stuff, hand dye is not the way to go. So.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And we do larger lots.
Mhm.
I've dyed a lot of 35 once.
Terrifying.
Yeah, but that was a glazed colorway. So we started doing glazing, which is not speckle dyeing. This is in a pot still where we twist the yarn in particular ways and leave it to soak up either all the dye or some of the dye, or sometimes we stick it in the pot by hand, where we get these nice light subtle shades.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. There. But we wanted to be able to get that randomized kind of color that you get that way, and it's not entirely randomized.
It's so funny. She's just like randomized, and I watch her down there like carefully counting how many times she twists the yarn and how many times she rolls it around. So it's like random. But they're equally random.
I want to be able to make sure that we're getting the same coverage of color, because that's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did 35.
Random yet highly planned.
I stole a question out from under you.
Oh, okay.
Because they've seen my sweater. The blog we dyed, that was a lot of 14.
That was.
But we did that all together. But I said, it's like, yes, we did do that one all together. I was there.
And also, we do custom dye. Like anything you want to order, if you need, you know, a certain color, you know, we do some color matching, you know, within our capabilities of doing that. You know, we can help you design things. If you're like, well, I want to make this, what color should I use? We do a lot of that. And it's hardly, you know, we have recipes for colors that are not on the website, or that are parts of variegated skeins, but not available on the website as a full color. So let me tell you, we dye this. We've been dyeing this same things. I like this purple in this skein, and we can get that for you, you know, so because we do have the recipes for all this stuff.
I've actually done that.
Yes, exactly. So, as I mentioned, this purple for just that reason. We're both like, oh, I remember that.
That was good. But yeah, I mean, we dye to make sure we have everything that's available. And we very often we have to dye stuff that comes in as orders. We have it on our website that not everything that is on the website is available 100% of the time.
Yep.
But we will get it done in a day or so. But we're doing the same colors all the time, and while I love them, I love a challenge. So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
like
that's
Jess's sweater was a challenge,
right? And I mean, that's part of the fun too, right? Is that you're not beholden. You're dealing with real human beings who are making the yarn, and you can go and say like, "This is what I want," and that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, because it's collaborative, right? The whole process is collaborative. That's what's fun, is that we're enabling you, but we're enabling you to do, your creative work, and that's fun for us.
Right.
You know?
Well, and that's one of the things we've also, I think maybe that's why I make that cry out, because that's the thing we miss about going to shows, is that people bring in their patterns that they're, looking for yarn for, and it's this kind of collaborative process, and and then they bring their projects back to us the following year, and they're like, "We made it!" It's like, it's the best. Yeah. And we made lots of friends. And I mean, like when you all came to our booth, it's that's the fun of it. That's what we've really missed with COVID, and it's been nice to have these. At least we have some contact with you all, and we can answer questions and say hello and whatnot. But we are definitely looking forward to getting back out into the show circuit and getting on the road. Yeah. Like clutching those. Yeah. So, anyway, do I want to talk about anything else? I don't know. We have lace weight up here. What do I have up here?
Lace weight. We have all kinds of stuff.
Oh, let's talk Ntoa.
Ntoa is awesome.
This is one of our original colorways that Kel came up with. We do color collections each year, and our first one was, I don't want to say uninspired, but it was It was the thing everyone does. It was flowers, and they're
It was
gorgeous.
flowers.
The colors
Okay,
you
but
came
there was
up
a
with were
reason for it. Is
gorgeous.
that we were living in Wayland, Massachusetts, and we hadn't been in the snow very much yet,
Yeah.
and it was so relentlessly brown and gray, and I was like, I just needed some color,
Yeah.
and so I dyed all the color that I wanted. I wanted all flowers, so I made flowers.
Yeah. This was one of the colorways that this is done. This is minis.
And that's what we became known for, actually.
Yeah, but this is tulip as a gradient mini set, but we also do it as a 3-color single skein, and it was that kind of color.
It was that kind of color, and everyone was just, and that's how if people react to it. Like sometimes people walk by our booth and gasp because the colors are, vibrant.
Yeah, not saying anything bad about your colors.
Yeah, no. Better
Let's
not.
know about how you named the business.
Oh my God. I love
that's
this
great.
question.
You gonna tell the story?
I'll tell the story.
You tell the story. All right.
I always tell the story.
Okay, you tell the story.
So this business was named by our daughter when she was 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Who, and I always say she was a marketing genius at 4 because she named us 100 Ravens, which puts us at the top of all the alphabetical lists.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
So good job, Lily.
Triple A yarn.
Well, actually, and someone pointed out to me that 100 Ravens would put us even higher, but but 100 Ravens also is catchy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
okay,
no, she's a marketing genius. Anyway, so we were doing a rainy day project to make stitch markers with her for people, and Lily was born a capitalist as well as a marketing genius, and so she wanted to sell them. And for her idea was like a lemonade stand at the bottom of our driveway.
And we lived in the middle of nowhere.
Out in the cornfields.
Yeah.
And we're like, this could end in sadness. So
like nobody was going to drive by for like a week.
Kel introduced Lily to Etsy, and they had a great time that afternoon setting up a shop. Lily, we told her she needed to name it, and what did she want to name it? And she said, well, something Ravens, because everybody likes Ravens, because of course we were living in outside of Baltimore, and we also are very gothy, raveny Poe people.
I have a raven tattoo.
Kel has a raven tattoo, and so we said, okay, well, ravens what? And she said, well, a lot of ravens, 100 ravens. And when Kel went to type it in as 100 ravens, Lily went, that's not how you say it. And we're like, what? And she goes, 100 ravens. And I'm like, she's not wrong, Kel. That is how you say it, right?
Yep. 100 ravens.
And so it was 100 ravens, and that was it. And then, when Kel started dying, and I don't know if you guys have read the little thing that we wrote up about how we started. We weren't going to be a business, and all of a sudden we were selling yarn, and we needed some place to put it.
So I put it on our Etsy shop.
So we put it on Lily's Etsy shop, right? And so since it was already there, and then it became our name because by the time we realized we had a business, we were known as 100 Ravens.
Too late now.
And how old is Lily now?
Lily is now 16 and thriving. But Lily, true to form, is the best little goth baby you have ever seen.
She's amazing. She's an uber goth. An uber goth. And
we love that girl.
She's awesome.
And still a little capitalist. She's become quite the artist, and she has 2 commercial sites for her work. And
she sells stickers and patches that she paints and stuff. So she's still doing it. She's still doing it.
This is all been sort of a long form for Lily as well.
Yeah.
And she works the booth for us quite often. She loves to come and be in the booth. I don't think she's ever done Vermont. You guys did. So. You and Jess did Vermont last year. Not last year, 2019. I was at some other show.
Yeah. Sometimes we split.
Sometimes
the
these days, back before in the before times.
Before the end of the world.
We had grown enough that we were doubling on weekends for shows. I'm not sure that we'll go back to that. I think
it was a little crazy.
Yeah, I think we may.
Last April, we'd planned for me to go to Pennsylvania, and you were going to Texas.
Yeah, it was going to be.
That's madness.
So I think we're talking about cutting down on the shows, choosing a little more.
Yeah. But we're doing virtual stuff, and we have
Yeah.
Fiber World now, so
Yeah.
you know, more cool virtual doings.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, like I think we reach people that we wouldn't normally. I think, you know, there's an access thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't go to the shows, or they go to their local show, but they don't go to, say, you know, Stitches Chicago, which is its own kind of thing, you know. So it's nice to have that virtual component.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
No questions?
Okay.
No
If
burning
anybody
questions?
has any other ones, because I know they can hear me on the
No.
mic, you know, feel free to type them in and
Yeah.
we'll answer
Yeah.
them. But you
I
know,
can
Ask
keep
away.
showing and talking.
but it is a little afternoon, so
Okay.
I don't know if they want to continue on with their
Yeah.
agenda
Sorry,
or
but I'm just-
give you a little more time.
Shifting. Yeah. I mean, I can talk more about like when we dye the minis. So some minis come in color sets, and they are
Not a
individually
gradient.
dyed.
Yeah, they're not a
they're
gradient.
they're just a thing.
But they're coordinating.
But
or
they're
thematically
coordinating.
thematically coordinated. Like what's the Wicked one? The one from Wicked.
Defying Gravity.
Defying Gravity. I love that
Yeah.
set.
Yeah,
It's a neat set.
it's a great set.
Yeah.
That one came about because we were just pulling a bunch of onesie twosies that we had and making sets out of them, and it was so beautiful. People are like, "Can we keep having it?" And I'm like, "I have to figure out how to create this."
Because some of them we have like Wild Child.
Yeah.
You know, we have ones that we don't have a recipe for, and we had some extra dye in the
Oh,
pot,
yeah.
and we just do some stuff, and it's done, and that's one and done, and there's not going to be another one.
Speaking
Babs
of
does this. I
that,
think they're called Babettes.
Babettes.
Yeah, she does the same thing. But
So, speaking of those,
yes.
this month,
Uh-huh.
whenever or early next month, depending on when Jess and I get it all together, we did not do our December flash sale this year, which we normally do.
Ooh.
So we are about to clear out the inventory of Wild Children, all the remaining skeins of any of the show colorways that we have.
Oh, some of those show colorways too. Oh, some of them are gorgeous.
All that kind of stuff is going to go on deep discounts.
Deep discount.
Anyway, and so we'll have
So you said, I'm about to get into trouble.
I'm in trouble, right? Like,
Did somebody also talk about like patterns for highly variegated yarn or best techniques?
Oh
or
yeah,
stuff?
I'll talk about that in just a second. So I just wanted to show this really quickly. If you saw the one that was out there earlier, these colorways, the gradients are done out of the same pot. So in the case of this one, I dye the green all the way across. Actually, I start with the blue. I dye the blue all the way across, leaving the last one to be pure green, and then I dye back across with the green, leaving the last blue alone to let it be pure blue. But that's how you get that gradient, and they're dyed in the same pot. I get this question all the time. Oh, can I get this color from that mini set? And it's like, no, because in most cases, in almost every other case, the answer is yes.
Oh, the gradients.
But
It's hard.
in these, it's like that's just like I can make something like it, but it's not a colorway of its own. It's just what happens as we dye across.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason that we did originally too, that I did gradients that way, was because as we dyed across that set of 7, there was a lot of opportunity to color correct and make things really good and make a really, really nice gradient that really transitioned well. And you could take your time and really do it right.
Did we bring any? I guess we.
What?
I'm looking to see if we brought any of the variegated patterns so I can talk about.
Oh, you're gonna grab one. I can run and grab.
Nah, it's all right. So here. So any of the Martina Bem set that she did for Indie Dyers way back when. So the Hitchhiker, the Miss
Ranunculus.
Winkle, the
Is it ranunculus?
no,
that's someone else.
Miss Winkle, Lefty, although that's just in
Mhm.
the little pieces. There's another one I can't think of. Anyway, those are all amazing patterns.
Anything that's knit or even crocheted, anything that's constructed going from one corner of a triangle to the other triangle. So anytime you knit or work diagonally, it will tend to distribute the yarn. It's
Right.
when you get into trouble when you work vertically, especially if you work vertically over kind of a similar space, and that's when you get flashing and pooling. And of course, now there's projects that are designed, you know, to have like planned pooling.
I'm just looking to see.
Around, yeah.
So the other thing though is there are some patterns out there like the Strand Wanderer. So it's Strand Wanderer. It means beach walker in German. And it's amazing. It works in our in particular with our 3 colorways. And it does the most amazing thing because you knit across this way and then you do pick up stitches and knit vertically, and then you knit across again. And by doing that, you end up with little patches of each of the colors.
Yeah.
It was designed with some European yarn, I can't remember which one now, that just happens to have the same pattern that our yarn did. And somebody pointed it out, and we've done some samples in it, and it's amazing. It works with Starry Night too, even though that's actually 4 colors, but it's essentially the same. Anyway, so that's one. There was another one I was thinking of that's really good for variegated. I can't remember. But like you said, anything knit or crocheted on a diagonal works. But I'm trying to think of
Anything
actual
with short
patterns.
rows. Anything with short rows will also break up
Yep.
the pooling.
Yep. Yeah. So we brought this gal.
So gorgeous.
So gorgeous. We discovered recently that the earth yarn that this is, or wasn't originally made in, but she's doing it now because she's recommending it now, is the same color change length as one of our 2 color skeins. So each of these colors is the same length. So you could do one of these with a couple of skeins of the 2 color yarn.
What is this one done in though?
That's done in minis.
with a solid.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
But what is this? Is this Yakos?
Yeah.
Oh God, it's beautiful.
Smith Lawn with Shanti.
And then is that Deadly Desert? Oh, it's Banjo, isn't it?
It's Banjo.
It's Banjo. That's a really, again, we're, you know, this is the neutrals. Like, it's so funny. Dyers are like, God, that's a gorgeous off-white. You're all like, these are beautiful colors. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, the white.
but you
though.
can do something like this with short rows. With one of our 2 color skeins, you would only have the 2 colors, or you could work in other colors with it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, stuff like that. Because it's amazing. People think it's a long color change on something, on those balls.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not that long,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's true.
They're
It's
about
true.
half a skein's worth of color, and
Yeah.
that's what these all are. So
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is our.
I'm like racking my brain. Oh, I know. There's one that I love for crochet is by Denise Devois,
mhm.
and it's called Stars Fell on Yellowstone, and it is this
that's
oh my
beautiful.
God, it is this just elegant lace cowl. It is
Nice.
so gorgeous, and it's one of my favorite things. And it was done in a highly variegated yarn. It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. And usually garter over stockinette too tends to be better.
Yeah.
Even if it does flash your pool, it shows less.
Mhm.
So sometimes that's helpful as well.
Yeah.
But
And again, it matters. Like I said, you could do the short rows with one of the 2 color colorways. It wouldn't work the same if you used one of our 3 colors or a tipped
Right.
color. You know, we have
Right.
so many different dye styles, and each of those needs a different kind of pattern.
yeah,
You saw the sock with the tipped colors. You get those little
exactly.
sashes. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
that's good stuff.
yeah, and oh yeah, for tipped colorways, there's the Wizard scarf wrap. I don't remember what she calls it, by Rachel Molnar, Remily
Mhm.
Knits. She's been our house designer for many, many years, and so pretty much anything new we've ever come up with, she has designed a pattern to work with it.
Yeah, and yeah, I think Mindy, the 2 designers who probably designed the most
Oh,
for our
yeah,
yarn is
and
Mindy
Mindy
Dykeman,
Dykeman,
who's
who's
Raven Knits.
yeah.
and then Rachel Molinar, who's Remily Knits.
Raven Knits is actually doing a new book this year that is, we collaborated with them or her, and so the entire book, I'm creating a new color collection to
Just
go
for
with
the book.
it. Yeah.
And,
We've had
and
so
her
much
stuff,
fun.
like it's all, she's Canadian, and all of her stuff is like nature based, and I
Yeah.
love that. You know, all of these shawls based on, and anyway, this book that's coming out.
This book is all based on this one park that she walks in every day, and so it's through the year how the
like
the
an
river,
almanac,
change the river and around there changes.
Yeah, she's fabulous.
Yeah,
just fabulous.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely different styles. It's nice. There's a lot of good representation there of kind of the stuff that we do.
Yeah. So
that's it. Unless you all have other questions,
I
or
mean, we could talk forever.
we would. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, Jess, anything?
No, nobody else has put any questions
All right.
in. So
Well, such a pleasure, and I hope that next time that we see you all, it's in person. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe fingers crossed that this all simmers down and we can
certainly by fall.
Get back to our visiting. I know, right? Get back to our visiting for realsies. For sure.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you guys inviting us because this was.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
It was nice.
Yes, have you all here in our studio. We're so glad you could visit.
Exactly.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
I can let them talk for a second. Okay.
It was great. It was awesome.
Awesome. Okay. We're off, right?
Nice to see happy people. Okay, so Jen.
Yes, you're muted. I'm muted. You're good. I pulled this over here so I could double check the thing.
No, I just wanted to, before I said anything, I just wanted to make sure.
Time for drawing.